everything changed. Nobody expected Mark Consuelos to be the one, but when Prince Harry settled onto their couch and gave his first dismissive answer, something in Mark shifted. Kelly noticed it immediately. She tried to redirect. It didn't work. By minute 8, Mark had stopped smiling. He'd stopped letting Harry's non-answer slide. And by minute 20, when Harry said something that made the studio audience gasp, Mark Consuelos responded with 6 words that would trend worldwide within the hour. What happened next had never happened on live in its entire history. You need to see this one. Subscribe now, hit that notification bell, and let's get into what happened. The Live with Kelly and Mark studio had its usual morning energy. Audience members clutching coffee, the band warming up, producers running final checks. Today's big guest had generated unusual buzz. Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, promoting his new Netflix project. Harry arrived with a single handler, streamlined for a morning show appearance. He walked onto the set with controlled posture, shook hands with appropriate warmth, settled into the guest chair with the ease of someone who'd done thousands of interviews. "Prince Harry, welcome to Live," Kelly beamed. "Thank you for having me. We're so excited. The project looks amazing. But first, how are you? How's life? How's California treating you?" "California is home now. We're settled. The kids are thriving." Mark leaned forward. "Thriving how, specifically? What are they into?" Something flickered across Harry's face. Surprise at the direct question. They're discovering their interests. Normal kid stuff." "What kind of normal? Sports? Arts? Reading?" "A bit of everything." Kelly jumped in. "That's the beauty of childhood, right? They try everything until something sticks." Mark didn't let it go. "But at their ages, patterns usually emerge. What patterns are you noticing?" Harry's smile tightened. "I prefer not to detail my children's development on television." "Fair enough. Just curious what thriving means specifically." Kelly smoothly redirected. "The Netflix project, No Way Out, Afghanistan. Tell us about it." Harry visibly relaxed. "It's an important story about British soldiers under siege, heroism that deserves recognition." "What drew you to this particular story?" "My connection to the military. 2 tours in Afghanistan. I know what those situations feel like." Mark tilted his head. "You know what combat situations feel like. But this story is about soldiers who were trapped, cut off, facing death. Your tours were significant, but different. How do you bridge that gap?" Harry's expression flickered again. "Military experience translates." "Does it?" "Because there's a difference between serving in a war zone and being besieged with no extraction. I'm not diminishing your service. I'm asking how you connect to this specific story, authentically." "I've spoken with survivors. I've studied the events." "So it's research rather than lived experience." "It's empathy informed by related experience." Kelly touched Mark's arm lightly. "I think what Mark's getting at is the creative process. How do you get inside a story that isn't exactly your own?" "Through listening, through understanding, through respect for those who lived it." Mark nodded slowly. "And they've approved of how you're telling it? The survivors?" "We've consulted extensively." "That's not the same as approval. Consultation is asking. Approval is accepting. Which is it?" The studio audience had gone quiet. They could feel the shift in energy. Kelly tried again. "Let's talk about something fun. 8 years of marriage. Congratulations. That's huge." Harry's walls reinforced slightly. "Thank you. We're grateful for every day." "What's the secret? What keeps it working?" "Partnership. Communication. Shared purpose." "Shared purpose is interesting," Mark interjected, "because your purposes seem increasingly separate. She's doing brand work in California. You're doing military content with Netflix, the Invictus Games. Different trajectories. Trajectories that complement each other." "Do they?" "Because complementary suggests interaction. What you're describing sounds more like parallel lines, moving in the same direction, but never touching." Kelly laughed nervously. Mark, that's very philosophical for 9 in the morning. It's observational. They rarely appear together anymore. The brand is Harry and Meghan, but the reality seems to be Harry and Meghan separately. I'm curious about the gap. Harry's voice dropped. There's no gap. Then why the separate schedules? She went to Switzerland without you. Australia had solo portions. You're here alone. When was the last public event you did together? Silence stretched. Harry's face had gone red. The anniversary silence, Mark continued. Reports say the royal family didn't send public well wishes. How did that feel? I don't track palace communications. But you'd notice if your father acknowledged your anniversary publicly. Did he? Private communications are private. But you've made private communications very public. The book detailed conversations with your father in extensive detail. Why is this different? Because I choose what to share. You choose to share things that generate sympathy. You withhold things that might complicate the narrative. That's not privacy. That's curation. Kelly leaned in. I think what we're all curious about is whether there's been any warming, any progress toward reconciliation. I've said I'm open to reconciliation. Open how? Mark pressed. Have you reached out? Have they responded? Open without action is just words. There are intermediaries working, so you're not talking directly. After all this time, after the book and the interviews and the documentary, you still can't pick up the phone and call your father? Harry grabbed his water glass. His hand was shaking slightly. It's complicated. Everything's complicated. That's not an explanation. It's an excuse. Kelly's voice took on a gentle urgency. Mark, maybe we could... I'm just asking questions, Kel. Questions he's avoided in every interview for 5 years. Harry turned to face Mark directly. You seem to have something personal against me. I have nothing personal against you. I have professional skepticism about someone who's built a brand on authenticity while avoiding authentic conversation. This conversation has been hostile from the start. This conversation has been direct from the start. You're confusing directness with hostility because you're accustomed to interviewers who accept everything you say. Kelly accepted what I said. Kelly was being gracious. I'm being curious. Both are valid approaches. Kelly spread her hands. We're both on your side here, Harry. We just communicate differently. Mark shook his head slightly. I'm not on anyone's side. I'm trying to understand. And what I'm understanding is that beneath the talking points, there's not much substance. Let's try something else, Kelly said, determined to find safe ground. What makes you laugh? What do you do for pure fun? Harry seemed thrown by the shift. Fun? Yes. Hobbies, entertainment. What does Prince Harry do to unwind? A long pause. I spend time outdoors. Nature. Hiking. With Meghan? With friends? Solo? Various combinations. What was the last thing that made you genuinely belly laugh? Another pause. Extended. Uncomfortable. The children make me laugh. Something specific? Harry couldn't produce an example. Kelly's expression shifted from hopeful to concerned. Mark leaned back. You can't remember the last time you laughed? That's telling. I laugh frequently. Then give us one example. One specific moment. What happened? What was funny? I don't catalog my laughter for interviews. You don't need to catalog it. You just need to access it. Happy people can access joy easily. The fact that you're struggling suggests something. Britain, Mark said, shifting terrain. Your home country is in crisis. Starmer's government is collapsing. Labour MPs want him out. Reform is surging. What do you make of it? I don't comment on British politics. You wrote an op-ed about British social issues 2 weeks ago. Divided kingdom. Those were your words. Social commentary is different from political commentary. Is it? The division you wrote about is directly connected to political failure. You can't separate them. I wrote about anti-Semitism. You wrote about Britain's soul, while sitting in Montecito, 6,000 miles away. Your brother is there, your father is there, the country you grew up in is struggling, and you're writing thought pieces from California? Harry's voice rose. I contribute what I can. Words from a distance. Is that contribution or commentary? It's using my platform. Your platform exists because of Britain, because of the royal family you left. You've monetized leaving, and now you critique from afar. Does the irony register? Kelly stood up partially. Okay, I think we need to keep going, Mark said, because this is the first time he's facing actual questions instead of sympathetic nodding. Harry stood up abruptly. This isn't what I agreed to. You agreed to an interview. Interviews include questions. Questions, not attacks. Every question I've asked has been about your public statements and choices. If that feels like attack, examine what you're defending. Kelly moved toward Harry. Please, let's all take a breath. I don't need a breath. I need basic respect. Mark remained seated. Respect for what? For avoiding every substantive topic? For giving talking points instead of answers? Respect is earned through engagement. You haven't engaged once. I've answered everything. You've deflected everything. Those are different. Answers provide information. Deflections provide cover. I know the difference. I've been doing this for 2 years. I've seen guests handle difficult questions gracefully. You've handled soft questions defensively. Harry grabbed his jacket from the couch. I can't continue with this program. Kelly's face showed genuine distress. Harry, please. Your husband has been hostile from the moment I sat down. He's been curious. He asks everyone tough questions. That's how he's been looking for conflict, and he found it. Mark stood now. I found what was already there. The conflict isn't something I created. It's something I noticed. You came in defended. You stayed defended. You deflected every attempt at real conversation. That's not my hostility. That's your pattern. My pattern is irrelevant to your rudeness. My rudeness is your interpretation of directness. In 2 years on this show, I've never had a guest call curiosity rudeness. You're the first. That says something. The audience sat frozen. Kelly looked between her husband and the prince, clearly torn. Harry, please, stay. Mark will what? Stop asking questions? Pretend everything you say is sufficient? That's not journalism. That's not even conversation. That's performance. Harry walked toward the exit. You've embarrassed yourselves today. Mark called after him. We've asked questions. You've embarrassed yourself by not being able to answer them. The footage will show exactly what happened. Harry paused at the edge of the stage. History will vindicate me. History judges on evidence. Your evidence today was evasion, defensiveness, and departure. That's not vindication material. Harry left. The studio door closed behind him. Kelly stood frozen for a moment, then turned to face the audience with the professionalism of someone who'd done 25 years of live television. Well, that was unexpected. The audience murmured. Nobody knew quite how to respond. Mark sat back down slowly. I'm sorry, Cal. I know that wasn't... Don't apologize. You asked fair questions. He couldn't handle them. But on our show, we tell the truth. That's always been the deal, even when it's uncomfortable. They turned to face the camera together, resuming their hosting positions despite the chaos. We're going to take a break, Kelly said. When we come back, we'll figure out what we're going to do. During the commercial break, the producers huddled. Kelly and Mark sat quietly. That was intense, Kelly finally said. He couldn't answer a single question authentically. Not one. I know. I saw it too. You tried to save him multiple times. He wouldn't let you. Because he didn't want saving. He wanted control, and when he couldn't have it, he left. Mark shook his head. In 2 years, I've never seen anything like that. Guests have been awkward, guests have been difficult, but nobody's ever just left. Because nobody's ever been confronted with their own emptiness quite so directly. They sat with that truth as the countdown to return began. When they came back from break, Kelly addressed the audience directly. You just witnessed something that's never happened on live in its entire history. A guest walked out mid-interview. We want to be transparent about what occurred. Mark nodded. I asked questions about his project, his family, his marriage, his home country, and what makes him happy. Standard interview topics. He couldn't answer any of them with specifics. When I noted that pattern, he called it hostility and left, Kelly continued. I tried to smooth things over, multiple times. Mark's style is more direct than mine, always has been. But directness isn't rudeness. Questions aren't attacks. And a guest who can't handle morning television questions probably can't handle much else. Mark leaned forward. Here's what I observed. Someone who's built an entire public identity around victimhood, but can't tolerate being questioned about that victimhood. Someone who demands sympathy while providing no substance. Someone who talks about authenticity while being completely inauthentic. Kelly touched his arm. We don't usually editorialize about guests. We don't usually have guests walk out because they can't name something that makes them laugh. The footage aired that morning. ABC made no edits. The clips that spread captured the disintegration. What does thriving mean specifically? I prefer not to detail my children's development on television. You're confusing directness with hostility because you're accustomed to interviewers who accept everything you say. You can't remember the last time you laughed. That's telling. I can't continue with this program. You've embarrassed yourself by not being able to answer them. History will vindicate me. History judges on evidence. Your evidence today was evasion. Harry's team released a statement calling the appearance an ambush by a co-host who abandoned professional standards for personal attack. Mark addressed it on the following day's show. Professional standards? I asked about his project's authenticity, his marriage, his happiness, his country. Those were the softest topics I know. He couldn't handle any of them. The ambush he's describing is simply someone who wouldn't accept non-answers. Kelly added, I've been doing this for 25 years. Mark's been with me for 2. Neither of us has ever seen a guest that defended, that closed, that unwilling to participate in basic conversation. It wasn't ambush, it was revelation. For Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, the interview became an unexpected milestone, proof that their different styles could reveal truths impossible with just warmth alone. For Prince Harry, it was perhaps the most unexpected catastrophe of his media career. He'd walked into America's friendliest morning show expecting softball questions and encountered something he'd never faced, a co-host who wouldn't let evasion slide. But for the millions who watched, something else emerged. Kelly had tried everything: warmth, redirection, intervention. None of it worked because Harry wasn't available for connection. He was only available for control. Mark had simply named what Kelly was too gracious to say. And in that naming, in that refusal to accept performance as substance, everything anyone needed to know about the gap between Prince Harry's public image and Prince Harry's actual depth became visible. Some guests handle questions. Others handle only approval. When approval disappears, so do they. 25 years of live. First walkout ever. What does that tell you? If you want more content that doesn't accept non-answers, subscribe. This is where the real moments happen. Drop a like. It makes more difference than you'd think. Share this with someone. They need to see what really happened. More questions,